Quite possibly.
Whoa! Look at all those hilichurls! They're acting really strangely.
Something seems to be drawing their attention. Let's take a closer look.
Nowhere to run! Tough crowd.
Let's dance. Oh, la 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 la.
Scatter! Surrender!
I'll protect us. Go, Barbara, go!
Nowhere to run! Scatter!
It's,
Ugh! Look at this red stuff!
by the looks of it, a letter written on a piece of torn clothing. The ink is bone dry. Well, let... According to this letter, a conflict arose because Amenoma Yuya wanted to seize up. Yuya started the fire that destroyed the warehouse and wounded Mr. Nagato in the fight. Mr. Nagato kept chase as long as he could, eventually
So, where is he?
He was not only mortally wounded, but also under the heavy influence of tatarigami. Add to that the fact that its aura seems to have attracted a horde of whatever traces there may have been of his fate beyond after this point. They've since been disturbed by the hilichurls. There's nothing more for us to find here. Yes, right now we need to uncover some more. If Amenoma Yuya is attacking other people indiscriminately, then the longer we take to find him, the more people risk.
Right, so let's get moving.
I wouldn't be surprised if he, too, fell prey to the influence of the For a practitioner of the martial arts, the easiest desire to inflame would be all the clues that at first seemed disparate and disconnected. I have a hypothesis that, if it's correct, not only explains the series of events.
Wait, you figured it out? So these two cases are connected
I believe so. But it's something of an outlandish idea. On with the search. We must stay vigilant.
Why here? Is there anything?
I'm not sure. But on closer examination, I sense that the
Show yourself! It's no use hiding anymore.
Kaedehara Kazuha. It's you, at last.
Aha! So it is the same guy from before! What's your problem, huh? What could you possibly have against Kazuha?
Indeed, there should be no enmity between us. If it is Amenoma Yuya that stands before us. But what if instead of facing Amenoma Yuya, we are in fact facing the blade in his hand?
Now that you mention it, it is giving off a strange... Whoa! Surely you don't...
Tatarigami energy often lodges itself within physical objects, then works to subtly affect... The blade has resided in Mr. Nagato's warehouse for many years, affecting his state of mind, or rather as a means to occupy
You're sharper than I thought. You've already deduced the truth of the matter. Many, many years ago, I was forged by a famed bladesmith of the Ishin tradition. I was his pride and joy. In me, he placed all his hopes and dreams. As a descendant of the Kaedehara clan, you should be able to guess our greatest regret.
I presume it has something to do with the Raiden Gokaden.
Indeed. At that point in time, he failed to live up to the Raiden Shogun's expectations. In the end, all he could do was to flee. He was a bladesmith of great renown, a master of his craft. There was nothing that he could not accomplish. All he needed was more time, and sure enough, in the end, he achieved what he had set out to do. All of his life's work. He not only bestowed upon me the greatest of strength, but also endowed me with a consciousness of my own. In her conceit, the Raiden Shogun lost not only the single most perfect blade in the entire world, but also in...
So... swords can become conscious?
The people of the time in which I was born never believed I had that kind of power. They saw me as a mere blade, a sharp and well-crafted one, but in all other respects an ordinary weapon. After the death of my creator, I decided to leave Snezhnaya and began my long quest to return to the distant land of Inazuma. I seek but one thing. To face the full force of the Raiden Shogun's blade and prove my power. The might of Ishin art!
So Amenoma Yuya was not your first victim. Tell me, what happens to those you've possessed?
My hosts? Who cares what happens to them? They are but tools that serve my mission. When they got tired, or injured, or unusable, I hopped to the next one in line. All I needed them for was to take me back to Inazuma.
You're awful!
After I returned to Inazuma, I decided to bide my time in Nagato's warehouse until, at long last, I'm approaching my journey's destination. By Amenoma Yuya's body, I have found you. And by Kaedehara Kazuha, you stood against the Raiden Shogun's Muso no Hitotachi. Now, give your body over to me.
Let the show begin.
Submit to me!
Futile! Spring forth! Judgment is upon you!
You shall rewrite history!
Guilty! You stand condemned! Guilty!
Submit to me!
Dodge this!
Me! Do not stand in my way, or I will strike.
Your bluff's fooling no one. You've lost!
Lost. I can never lose. It is this body that has reached its limit. Nothing. Even if you defeat me here, the one who falls will not be me, but this man. He is but a puppet that can be replaced. I can take a new vessel. The end result is the same. I will end this wretch's life before you can lift a finger. And even if I were to lose my physical form, it is but a small setback. By any means necessary, and any medium available.
Your fighting style. It is indeed the forms of Ishin art. But from your movements, I sense only hatred and arrogance, as well as a thinly veiled mania and—
Really? You can tell all that just from his
As I've mentioned before, the forms of Ishin art convey the user's thoughts and feelings. Since the blade is currently possessing Amenoma Yuya's body, its movements express the innermost thought. If you ask me, the mania is probably due to your desperate, single-minded ambition.
Are you trying to claim that I am helpless without you? On his deathbed, he passed to me all of Ishin art's secrets. The little that you know. In that regard, why would I ever need your help?
Because all of that is in the past. I've been wondering why you've not caused more trouble in all the years that you've been in Inazuma. If you are indeed a cursed blade that can possess its owner. Now that I've seen inside your mind, everything finally makes sense. You weren't biding your time. After all the time that's passed, you have grown weak. To the point that you are now unable to acquire a new host without making physical contact.
Oh, that's right. Paimon remembers now. Mr. Nagato had a habit of never touching his collectibles.
Only when Mr. Nagato witnessed his wife's distress and decided to sell his collectibles did you finally have an opportunity to reach out to Amenoma Yuya and make your escape.
And what of it?
Well, that brings me to my second point. There's a despair in you that you were determined to fulfill your maker's ambition whatever the cost. But this ambition is too grand and too heavy for you to bear. I think you realized your limitations long ago. The more you clenched your teeth and pressed forward, the greater your fear of losing everything you had achieved grew, and the more you wished to run. But the way I see it, what began as an ambition has long since become a delusion.